Hey everybody, and welcome to the Foundation First Fitness Show with Bob Owen. Today is episode 6, and we are going to be talking about how to structure your workout. Now, structuring a workout doesn't have to be a very tedious and hard thing to do. It's very simple, and all you have to do is find a basic rule book that you can follow on a regular basis that's going to help you organize these workouts regardless of your skill level. So I think workout organization is really important, and it's a very crucial component, and it's very crucial for 3 reasons. The first reason is if we're not structuring a workout properly, there's a high chance we're not going to be on course to succeeding. We're going to be going off course of our goals, and that's where we don't want to be. We want to make sure that we're always paying attention to what we want to be doing and not just kind of aimlessly going into the gym doing anything randomly. Now, before I go on, I want to mention that even though I am talking about the goals and this and that, I want to make sure, I want to emphasize that I won't be discussing the month-to-month or the year-to-year basis, but very much just the workout itself and that entire week itself. I won't go too much into detail, but I'll give you a nice overlook so that it's very easy for you to just kind of pick out and kind of plug in your workouts within that week and plug in the exercises accordingly throughout your workouts. So that was reasoning number 1. Reason number 2 is that if we don't have a more of a set structure to the workouts, or just kind of aimlessly going into the workouts, what ends up happening is we might not realize this right away, but we might be building up a kind of a dominance to a specific muscle group or specific movement pattern. Now, how that kind of comes about is that generally we will favor a specific muscle group or a specific exercise group or an exercise type that we really like. So if you like bench press, you might be more prone to sticking to it and doing that more often than you would doing another exercise that could be beneficial for that same pattern or beneficial for those same muscles, but just be targeting the body in a different way. So adjusting is something that needs to happen when you structure the workout, and it's so crucial that we do that because we may end up leading ourselves down a path of injury. So to avoid that injury, make sure you're structuring your workout. Now, the third thing is it's something that we don't always talk about, but it's very much being able to kind of track what we're doing. If we don't have an idea of the structure, we don't have a thought process in our mind of knowing what we want to do, we might end up going down that wrong path, as I mentioned before, but we might not be able to be aware of that or know what we were doing the whole time. We might not be able to track what we're doing and be able to adjust. So not being able to adjust is a very, very, very crucial component. Being able to adjust is a very crucial component of fitness, because if we're not doing the right thing, we won't really know unless we have a structure that we can follow, that we can adjust. If we're just aimlessly going to the gym, we may not know what was working and what wasn't working. And then when we need to adjust, we won't have those tools at our disposal. So going into what you should be doing. Now, it's really not that hard. Now, the reason I say that is that my workouts are very simply structured. And the reason they're simply structured is because I want someone that if I need them to come and replace me for a day, it's easy for them to follow. But at the same time, there's face value for my clients. So someone's going to be walking in, doing my workouts, is going to know what the goal is for that day, what's expected of them in that day, and really what's expected of them in that week. So the best way for me to do that is to make it as simple and as very straightforward as possible, leaving out all the confusion and all the ambiguity, just kind of making it very digestible and consumable, bite-sized pieces, and it's so much easier for them to kind of follow along and buy into what I'm trying to sell them. Now, this is not advice for someone who wants to be a personal trainer, although it could be, but even advice for the average individual is to really, I'm working with professional athletes, and I'm trying my best to make it as simple as I possibly can and take out as much complexity as I possibly can, so that even they themselves can have an understanding and pull something away from the workout. Because again, I'm not dealing with these athletes the entire year round. I have to be able to keep things as simple as possible so that I can get the best results I can in that allotted time that I have with them. So allotted, I think it's allotted. I'm not really sure. I'm gonna look into that one. Now, the other thing that's really, really interesting with structuring workout is how to vary up those exercises. A lot of individuals will pick, we'll talk about a specific way they're doing it, whether it be push pulls or whether it be rotational patterns, whether it be, prime movers, the secondaries, and so on and so forth. Depending on the philosophy that you're using, there's going to be a different approach to that, and that's okay. The only thing you want to make sure you're doing, no matter what, is going to be figuring out what you are going to be doing and stick to it. There are so many times I've seen workouts that have been given to, clients that have come to see me for things, and I look at them and I really don't think that there's any real pattern, because everything that they're doing is great. The exercises are great, the organization and the workouts are great, but there's no real structure from day to day. So it's really hard for me to kind of see and figure out what their style is, so that if I have to work with their client a bit just to restore some movement or something of that sort and be able to send them back, it's really hard for me to kind of play to what they want. So what I would recommend is that if you are going to do this on your own, you are going to pick out your stuff on your own, I would say the best thing to do is figure out what approach you're going to take. Push-pull, upper lower body. I use upper and lower body. I find it's the easiest way to structure workout, and then you basically work your lower body and then you give it some rest and then work it again a couple of days later. So there's no kind of it's being worked every single day. Now you got to add some more complexity to it. It's very simple. It's very easy, very consumable. Now, once you figured that out, once you figured out your approach, now enters the exercises, and you start plugging in everything. And I mean literally everything. As many different variations as you possibly can. Now, I'm not telling you to turn a leg curl machine to a leg press machine or something of that sort, or hang upside down to do bicep curls. I'm not talking about readjusting yourself. I'm talking about making sure that you're approaching a push from different patterns. You're pressing over your head, you're pressing in front of you. We're working on that shoulder blade moving. We're getting some rows. For your lower body, you're making sure that you're getting all the patterns forward, to the side. You're working the hip extension. You're not really focusing on one specific movement too much, because that's going to, again, develop that dominance. We're varying things up as much as possible. And you'll start noticing that when you look at certain trainers that are really giving this a lot of thought, as many of them do, you'll start noticing and start picking out these patterns. And it's actually really interesting to see what's going on in their mind, to know how they're structuring their workout, because there is no one specific way. There's whatever way works best for you. And that same thing holds true for an individual who just wants to go to the gym and get a workout in. It's whatever works best for you. So structure it easily, make sure it's very simple, and that way you can vary things up very easily. You're not kind of putting in place all these very specific rules that you have to meet. It's very superficial. There's not a lot of stuff going on there, and it's a lot easier for you to kind of get that entire process and put it together and get yourself on that right workout. Now, step number 3 is organizing things so that you can spend some time working on things that you find that you're weak on. So if hip stability is an issue, make sure that you've structured your workouts that's going to allow you to spend some time where you're not going to be completely exhausted in order to work on something that you're weak on. So if hip stability is an issue, but it's not enough that's going to be killing your workouts, but it's something that you might want to be paying a little bit of attention to, then you might want to spend some time when you still have some steam left, focus on something like that, because it still is going to require some mental thought. I just pointed at my cheek, but some mental thought in your head. And it's going to still need some physical strength too. So you want to make sure that you've got both of those to some degree still intact while you're trying to work on that weakness. And again, once you figure that out, find a space in your workout for it where you feel comfortable and put that in. Now, step 4 is audit. Audit your workouts, audit your week, and audit your weaknesses. If you don't audit all 3 of those on a consistent basis, then you're never going to be able to make the adjustments you need to in order to keep you on track towards your goal. Now, it is very easy to kind of veer off path because as you start adjusting, at times you might get a little lazy, you might be a little more complacent, you might just want to stick to what you've been good at doing, and that's okay for a very short period of time. You want to make sure that you're jumping back into it and varying things up again, okay? Putting all that together is really how everything is going to kind of play out. Now, the last thing I wanted to discuss was that entire week. Now, the way I do it with my athletes is I like them to understand that Monday's going to be the hardest day, Friday's going to be the easiest day, Saturday, Sunday, they're off. So generally what will happen is they'll come in on Monday. Monday will be a lower body day. Tuesday is going to be an upper body day. Wednesday is going to be football because my guys love playing football. We started a couple of years ago and they've absolutely loved it. Like these are pro, junior, bantam level players, everybody, all different age groups, skill levels. I say skill levels, I'm saying that very loosely because there's not much skill there, but they just love getting out there. I know they're not going to listen to this, so I really don't care that I said that because there's no chance half of those guys are actually going to listen. But if they do, there's maybe about one or two of you, and you know who you are. They're actually that good, and they're probably covering me, and so I love throwing that football in there because I think it's a time for them to kind of get away from skating, get away from playing. And get their kind of mind right and just change the scenery a bit and kind of get some agility in, get some cardio in, and it's fun. You know, there's that nice community aspect to it. So it's really interesting to throw that in right in the middle. And then I repeat that Monday, Tuesday, again on Thursday, Friday. But again, it's a little bit less intense. So I'm starting heavier and I'm working down to a lot less intense. And again, if a Saturday or Sunday they need extra rest, maybe tone it down on that Monday if they didn't get enough rest on the weekend. Okay, guys, put that all together. Let me know what you guys think. Hit subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Hit like if you guys are listening to this on the podcast. And until next time, guys, keep building that foundation.